to the Township of Springfield Planning Board, September 16, 2020. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Laws. Notice was published on August 20th, 2020 in the local source, which is the official newspaper for the Township of Springfield, and posted on the Annex Building on August 21st, 2020. Let's do a salute to the flag. Oops. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, good. We had a better flag than my flag that I made today during break. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Can we have a quick roll call, please?
Committeeman Rich Huber, absent. Mr. David Barnett.
I'm here.
Mr. Andrew Schwartz.
Present.
Mr. Jerry Fernandez, absent. Ms. Sylviane Grisbowski is absent. Mr. Aaron Laufer.
Here.
Mr. Brian Brandel.
Here.
Ms. Marissa Ruggiero.
Here.
Mr. Scott Vishna.
Here.
Vice Chair Kessel.
Here.
And Chairman Tiger.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Well, we didn't get together in August, so we have our July 2020 minutes. I'm sure everyone had a chance to review it on the Google Drive. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Anyone second it?
I'll second.
Perfect. Can I have roll call? Oh, actually, no, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain?
I abstain.
David abstains. Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have three quick resolutions. The first one is a waiver of site plan, New England Cellular Wireless LLC, 1 Cornell Parkway, Block 3903, Lot 16 for a waiver of site plan. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll move to accept that.
Second.
Who's second?
Okay, Brian.
Mr. Laufer.
Yes.
Mr. Brandel.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Wishna.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel.
Yes.
Chairman Tiger.
Yes. The
Motion.
next one was for application 4-2000S. This was United Windows and Doors Manufacturing. They had an amended preliminary final site plan, amended bulk variance, and they expanded the paver area. Can I have I'm sure everyone had a chance to read the resolution on the Google Drive. Glenn does a phenomenal job putting those together for us. Any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, I think Mr. Schwartz wants to make a motion to approve.
I do. I move to approve the resolution as presented.
And I think Mr. Wishno is looking at seconding it.
Second.
Great.
Can we roll call?
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Wishna.
Yes.
Mr. Laufer.
Yes.
Mr. Brandel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel.
Yes.
Chairman Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next one was for application 5-2020S. This was, I believe, Dollar Tree Springfield Diversified Partners LLC. This was for a simple amended final site plan, amended parking variance. With that, I believe Mr. Wishno wants to make a motion to approve.
May I make a motion to approve? Well, I don't know the number of the application. That in.
Mrs. Ruggiero is seconding it, I think.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay.
All right, we have a roll call.
Mr. Wishna.
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Laufer.
Yes.
Mr. Brandel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel.
Yes.
Chairman Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Perfect. The only thing on the agenda tonight before we open up for the public, if there's any public questions, is application 7-2020S. This is for Vital and Varun Springfield LLC. This is 200 Route 22 Center Island, Block 3702, Lot 3. This is for a minor site plan parking variance for them to create 30 burgers. So with that, I know that we have the applicant there. The one thing I wanted to just make the board aware that some little history on this. This application, they had an application for this exact site for the zoning board adjustment in 2015 for Primo's Hoagie's use. At that time, the zoning board approved the parking variances for 100 spots when 76 were existing. This present application revolves a simple change in tendency to allow 30 burgers to go in to this spot. And it actually requires 2 fewer spots, 98 stalls versus the 76 existing. So really, they're going from a hoagie place to one food place to another food place. The only thing is it's a change in tenancy. There's no new variance because the parking was granted, but the zoning board of adjustment provided that any future tenancies need to be reviewed by the planning board to make sure they're not going to exacerbate the parking variance and so forth. So with that, we can just get counsel Joe to join for the applicant.
Joe, it's Joe Paparo.
Joe Stagier?
Yes.
Okay, he has been promoted to panelist.
Great.
Paparo.
I don't see him.
Also, Ed Deck. And for the record, Jerry Fernandez is now on the meeting.
Shoot.
At 5:37.
All right, anyone else other than those two?
Yep. Paparo, Joseph A. Paparo. Bilal Fayez. And Baron Amin. I think that's it.
I have a Varun Amin.
Yeah, that's it. And we should be good.
Okay, is he on? Hello, Joe.
Hi, nice to see
Hi.
you, Chairman. For the record, Joseph Papero from Porzio, Bromberg, and Newman on behalf of the applicant, Bilal and Varun Springfield LLC. First of all, Chairman and board members.
Excuse me,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Counsel, I need to recuse myself. I have a business relationship with Porzio, Bromberg, and Newman.
That was great, David. Thanks for joining.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Sorry to interrupt.
No
That's
problem.
okay.
Actually, before you do it, I read something that to the board. I just want to make sure if Mr. Disco and Mr. Hughes can agree. Is that correct for the board?
It is. This is a conditional use, and one of the conditions is parking, which has been satisfied. So it requires planning board appearance as a conditional use.
Perfect. Okay. So then, before we start, Mr. Keynes, can you there were 2 things, 3 things I wanted on the record. Obviously, the one where they've reviewed both the letters and they've agreed, but do you want to go through those 3 items, book?
Yeah, in a second. Dave, are you recusing yourself
Yes,
completely?
I am. Can I watch or should I just get away?
Then
completely?
I think you should go
Okay.
away.
Bye, everyone.
Well, we
Thank you.
can make you a.
Sorry,
All
Dave.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye, David.
Sorry, Dave.
Hey, no worries.
All right, if I'm doing them in the wrong order, if I forget, Mr. Chairman, you can correct me, but you already, I think, took the first 2 of them out of play. This is a conditional use application. So, Joe, what we're going to need is just an affirmation, and you could just do it now. As far as you're aware, your client and this property still meets the conditions of the conditional use. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
With the exception of
That's
the variance?
correct, Mr. Gaines.
Okay. Second thing is that, so that's a conditional use. Second thing is as Chairman Tiger indicated, condition number 5 said any future tenants in the building shall be heard by the planning board, provided there is no D-variance relief. To the best of your knowledge, Joe, there's no D-variance relief required. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you were in receipt of Mr. Disco's report and Mr. Hughes's report. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you have any problems in addressing any of the items that are contained in those reports?
No, we will comply with all the requests and recommendations.
Okay, so this is going from one fast food. I'm sorry, Joe, I interrupted you.
No, that wasn't me.
It must be Jeff in the park-like setting.
It is. I'm at the soccer thing. So yes, there's.
That's
people
all
in the
right, Jeff, it's fine. It's fine. Stay there. It's great. So, Joe, you have any additional proofs that you want to make? Because if the conditions are all satisfied and you have this resolution that Chairman Tiger alluded to that was memorialized on the 20th of January, 2015, do you have anything else?
Well, all we were going to do is just briefly describe the restaurant use and just confirm that there are the number of spaces based on the seating inside the building. We are proposing 25 seats in the building.
All right, who do you want sworn in? Joe, who do you want sworn in to do that?
Mr. Bilal Fayez.
Mr. Baez, would you please raise your right hand wherever you may be? Anybody have him on screen?
I've got it. He's on mute, according to my screen.
Bring the jog when you're done.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bilal, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think I need to unmute myself. Yeah, perfect. I think we just need a brief overview to obtain the points.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can. Would you please raise your right hand, please, sir? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
Yes.
What's your name?
Bilal Fayaz.
And what's your relationship to the applicant or the application?
I'm actually one of the owners of this potential location.
Okay, you heard the proffer that was made by your counsel and by Chairman Tiger and myself. Do you have any disagreements with anything that was said?
No, I do not.
Okay, he's all yours, Joe.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fayez, you're, as you said, an authorized representative of the LLC. Bilal?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. And you're a tenant at this location?
Correct.
And you submitted a floor plan for this interior space that shows a total of 25 seats, is that correct?
That's correct.
And those 25 seats were utilized by Mr. Deck, your engineer, to establish a parking requirement of 98 spaces, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's your understanding, based on the history of this site, that the prior variance was granted to Primo's Hoagies for this location for 100 spaces were required and 76 exist. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And as Chairman Tiger correctly pointed out in his summary, this application is actually a reduction in the existing parking deficiency due to your limited seating.
Correct.
And just so the board has an understanding, can you just briefly explain the nature of the 30 Burgers operation?
Sure. So
hours of operation and employees.
You got it. Okay. So 30 Burgers itself is basically a franchise that's been around for 10 years. The closest location to Springfield would be the one in Linden. We have a pretty simple menu. We basically have lots of different varieties of burgers, as it says in the name, 30 different burgers. Our hours of operations are typically Sunday through Thursday. We're open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. 12 a.m. is obviously a seasonal thing, and that the market in the area sort of dictates how late we close. As far as our employees are concerned, we have maximum of 3 employees per shift during the week and maximum of 4 employees on weekends. We have deliveries that we receive from the delivery system of 30 Burgers at least once a week. At most, it's twice a week. They typically happen in off-peak hours. We use commercial cargo vans or 10-passenger sized vans for these deliveries. And total number of seats, as Joe said, we have our 25 seats in the restaurant. That's pretty much it.
And Mr. Fayez, you're not proposing any modifications to this site, correct?
Correct. We're not modifying anything.
You will be performing interior renovations of the restaurant space to include the exhaust hood, which is one of the conditions of the conditional use, correct?
Correct. So exhaust is going to go in, and other than that, maybe, change the colors here and there, but other than that, no major changes at all.
Okay. And finally, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You have one more question, but go ahead.
Sure. And one of the other requirements of the conditional use is a grease trap. It's our understanding that Primo's installed the grease trap as a condition of their approval.
Correct.
Chairman, I have no further direct for Mr. Bilal.
And I think I think the board's kind of heard enough. Let me go to the board for a little quick round robin to see what everyone has to say. Mr. Schwartz?
Well, were we provided with a copy of the interior layout to which the witness just referred? Because I didn't see one in our papers.
I didn't see it either, but I think that's going to be a function of a building.
Well, I understand that, but it's the layout as presented is what is supporting their statement that they're going from the 30 seats of Primo down to 25 for themselves.
We can, Chairman, we have it ready to share as an exhibit.
Oh, good.
And there were paper copies submitted, but I know with the COVID procedures, sometimes it's hard to get the electronic files, but we did send it today, so we could upload it right now for your review.
Does Joe have a copy of it so we can put it up on the screen?
Oh, it's Exhibit A1. That's what it's marked in the Google Drive.
There we go. Thanks, Joe. Go ahead. Can you provide a little overview for Mr. Schwartz on this?
So Mr. Fayez, the floor plan is being shown on the screen, and it shows that you have a layout with a total of 25 seats.
Yes.
And you're familiar with this floor plan?
I am, yes.
Okay. And you've designed that for your 30 Burgers operation, and this meets your needs, correct?
Correct.
Andrew, does that
Yeah, it's just that if they're going to base their testimony on it, it needed to be part of the record.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, the resolution would be clearly written. They can't have any more than 25 seats so the parking doesn't get changed. Okay, Joe, can we go back to the regular screen? Mr. Fernandez, you arrived and you heard the whole application, so you can add some color. Anything you have to add?
No, everything's fine. Thank you.
Mr. Brendel?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Perfect. Mr. Loeffler?
Yeah, I just have one question. Peak times, is that CD going to be sufficient during like peak times for lunch and for dinner?
Fayez, Mr.
Sure.
Fayez, can you talk about your peak times?
Sure. So we're predominantly a dinner restaurant. So if you were to divide our percentages between dinner and lunch, it would easily be 60 to 40%. So I think peak hours wise, it's not going to be that packed at all in that lot during dinner times.
And is that because the other tenants in the multi-tenant building are primarily not night businesses?
Correct. So they all close at around, I think, 5:30 or 6, and our peak hours start after 6.
So lunch wouldn't be a peak time for you?
Nothing is compared to dinner now. Now we're mostly, at least based on our current business, we're basically a dinner place.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, perfect. Who's next on the list? Mrs. Ruggiero?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Wishna?
I have 2 questions. One's process, one is site oriented. So I guess I'm a little confused why this is the tenant that's providing the testimony, but who's the applicant? Is it the property owner?
It's the tenant. It's Mr. Bilal's company is the applicant.
So why isn't the property owner filing for the variance?
They don't need the variance because the variance was granted by the board. We're just making sure that we're not exacerbating the variance.
Fine. So then I guess more to the specifics of the operation, I guess I want to understand in the climate that we're currently in, is the intent of the applicant / user of this site to do any kind of curbside pickup, knowing the layout of this site doesn't exactly provide for parking spaces that are close to the front door. Is that been contemplated? And if so, what's your plan?
So what I can compare this to is our current business. So one location that we do own is in East Brunswick. And since the COVID situation happened, and even before that, we have been so much more takeout based and delivery based. You have DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, that we believe that for a long while to come, those will remain the main ways for us to basically generate revenue. And it shouldn't change in Springfield either.
So you don't intend to do curbside where you'd be bringing it out and the customer stays in their vehicle.
We would do that as well as drivers from Uber Eats and DoorDash coming in and picking up the food for their customers.
So is there an intent with this application to dedicate any individual spaces for that purpose?
Individual parking spaces, you mean? No.
Thank you.
Perfect time to come in.
But no, we're not trying to dedicate any parking spots to anything like that. Typically, we don't have curbside in place, but if that becomes a requirement, sure, we'll comply. But typically, customers just come in and pick up their food just like any other driver.
Okay, I probably heard half of your response, and I think you all heard my daughter announce that there was somebody at the door. Okay, I heard what I needed to hear, though. Thank you.
Perfect.
No problem.
Sharon, Ms. Kessel?
No questions, thank you.
Perfect. I have no questions, but I want to kick it to our professionals just to see if they have any questions or concerns before we open it up to the public. Mr. Disco?
I have no concerns. I would also probably just counsel that we shouldn't limit them to the 25 seats in the resolution, since the previous restaurant had 30 seats. So there'd be no exacerbation if they even had 30 seats. So I wouldn't want, in other words, I'm trying to avoid the zoning officer having to count seating.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I think we'll pull the board, but I think that's fine. Mr. Disco, are you swimming in your background or?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay. Mr. Keynes? Mr. Hughes?
Well, first of all, I would agree with Mike on his point, and just note for the record, it's a permitted conditional use in the zone. Based on their testimony, they meet all four of the applicable conditions, and there's no parking variance because it's actually a lesser demand. So that's all I have to say.
Even at the 30, if they go to the 30?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to take this opportunity to open this matter to the public. Any member of the public that wish to speak on this application, please raise your hand and come forward. I see there's one message in the Q&A by Mark Kessler. If Mark is on, we'll let him read his question. If not, I'll read it and then have our professionals answer it. Joe, do you see Mark on?
He has been promoted.
Mr. Kessler? I do not see him. Let's see.
I see on page 2.
Yeah, I see him. Mr. Kessler?
Hello.
Hi. I saw you have a question.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mark Kessler, and we're a neighbor.
One second, Glenn. Mr. Keynes.
You're muted, Glenn.
You're muted.
I was looking at his question. Mr. Chairman, it looks to me like all he's going to do is ask a question, but the question is really outside the jurisdiction of this board, because he's asking, as I understand it, he says he's concerned with the parking deficiency for tenant only or whole building. It's all related, and it's all based on the previous resolution of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And he's also concerned over possible parking on our property as overflow spots. Well, they're not allowed to park on private property, so that certainly is a requirement. And if there's a problem there, Mr. Kessler certainly could file something with construction enforcement or zoning or the police department if somebody's doing that. But those issues, I think, saw their day on the original application, since they're not expanding. As a matter of fact, this is a smaller operation. I don't know whether that answers the question. Kessler. I didn't mean to steal Mr. Paparo's thunder, but I think that's how it has to be adjudicated, unless Mr. Kessler has something else.
No, I don't. I was unaware of the 2015 variance. So it sounds as if it's already a pre-done event. So I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I wasn't sure if the deficiency is for the whole building or just for the one tenant.
The one tenant.
Okay. I mean, I guess
Oh,
my point is,
exactly.
I guess I don't have much else
me.
to say then if it was because it was already a pre-approved variance from 2015 that I was unaware of.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I just want to correct, I'm just reading the resolution. It was for the whole building. It was for the whole building. To be clear. Okay, any other thing, Kessler? Any other members of the public that wish to speak on this application, 7-2020S? Joe, do we see anyone raising their hand?
There is not, sir.
Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close this matter to the public and open it up to the board for questions and concerns. Any member of the board, I'm just going to open it up. You could, any questions, or are you comfortable with sending it for a motion? Okay, I'm seeing no one raising their hand for a question, so I think Mr. Schwartz was going to make a motion.
He was not.
Oh, you are not? Okay, so how about you make the motion? Okay, Ms. Castle?
I move to approve application, I can't remember the number, in accordance with the testimony as discussed in tonight's meeting.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
What was that number, just for completeness sake?
7-2020S.
I move to approve that number.
Who seconded it?
Jerry, I did.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Chairman, I think the only hold on. I think the only conditions are, obviously you have to conform to the 2 professional reports. And the only other thing I see in the resolution is any new signage has to be in conformance with what is under the ordinance or existing on the site, subject to final review and approval of, I guess Keenan would do that.
Yep, and then they agreed to meet all conditions in both the letters dated September 10th. And
right, and I wanted the signage, Jeff, that's all.
Yep, no, that makes sense, 100%. So with that, can I have a roll call?
Vice Chair Kessel?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Lawfer?
Yes.
Mr. Brendel?
Yes.
Ms. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Wishna?
Yes.
And Chairman Tiger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Perfect. Okay, the only other thing, just for the record, our next meeting is scheduled for October 5th at 5:30. We will continue to do the meetings via Zoom. If any member of the board thinks 5:30 is too late, too early, or wants to talk, just send myself and Jen a note, and we'll see what to accommodate given the fall work schedules with kids from home and so forth. So with
Mr.
that,
Chairman, does Mr.
Yeah.
Paparo want to waive receipt of the resolution since there's
I
no
do.
site plan?
I was going to
I thought
make a
you
request.
said,
I was going to make that request. Thank you, Mr. Keynes.
is that satisfactory to the board?
yeah, we have no issues with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed? Okay, everyone have a good September.